New location, but we're still here. Coming to you live from beautiful San Diego, which, listen, scholars maintain that the translation was lost long ago. Happy to be here. Coach Sean, how you doing today?
Doing great, man. Doing absolutely great. I can't complain. Life is good, bad, great, all at the same time. We living. Hey, man, we got LSU this week. So what else? What else can we ask for, right?
Honestly, and I got to pull up the injury report. That's the one thing I love that the SEC is doing now. Really, I think that all college football conferences should do it. And I think we're probably on the precipice of it, especially with sports betting. You have to have those injury reports.
Thanks.
But I think Alabama is lucky right now to be pretty darn healthy going into this game. I know that, Keon Sapp has that unfortunate injury. I know Cole Adams has that unfortunate injury. But if you go to this SEC injury report and you start looking around at other teams, right? So for Alabama, you have Sapp and Adams out. I'm just going to give you the list for LSU. Jordan Allen, safety, out. Harold Perkins, out. Kyle Parker, wide receiver, out. John Emery Jr., out. Trey Hawley, out. Thomas Crawford, out. Princeton Malbrew, out. Kobe Roberts, out. Jake, I don't want to butcher his last name, out. Tyree
Yeah.
Adams, out. Garrett Dellinger, out. Gilroy, out. Then they have two questionable and one probable. So, comparatively speaking, ladies and gentlemen, be very thankful. Alabama has been pretty healthy, knock on wood, going into this game. And I'm hoping that continues. Coach, Bama had the bye week. What are you thinking for LSU? First off, let's start with this. What scares you about this matchup? What do you think LSU can do to maybe pull off a win against Alabama? And then we're going to get into the flip side, but it wouldn't be complete analysis if we didn't give you all sides of the coin.
Yeah, for me, what scares me about LSU is Garrett Nussmeier. Garrett Nussmeier, bro, because he's a gunslinger, and just like we know he will throw you some interceptions, we understand it. A Watt, Travis Premier, Goof, Walt, what's up with y'all boys, man? Mike Jones, what's up with y'all? Scott, what's going on? How you guys feeling? Roll Tide to you all, man. Much love to you. Um, I'm on record as saying I believe, just me, and this may give you some flabbergasted moments. I think Garrett Nussmeier is the best passing quarterback in our conference. I believe that I think he's better than Carson Beck throwing the football. I think he's more talented than Carson Beck throwing the football. Doesn't always make the right decision, as most gunslingers feel they can fit the ball anywhere. Go ask Brett Favre. They feel like they can make any throw on the field, no matter what the coverage is, no matter how tight. What scares me is this guy getting in the rhythm. What scares me is LSU allow also along with Garrett Nussmeier. What scares me is our defense against the run being subpar again. It's only I said on a video earlier that it's only two schools in the SEC with a worse defense against the run. The last time I checked, I think it was Florida and Mississippi State were the only two other schools. We were 12th with out of 14, or 14 out of 60, whatever we are. It was only two schools with a worse defense against the run that was giving up more yards than us against the run, and that was Florida and Mississippi State. And it worries me. I understand LSU has had their issues running the football, right? But what better time to get on track than at night at home against Alabama against a defense that's not very good against the run? Um, so it worries me because if LSU, and they don't have to be a juggernaut in the run game, just a few positive runs here, a few positive runs there to get Garrett Nussmeier on track. It scares me. That guy scares me. It scares me against our secondary because you know, just the truth being told, if we're being honest, like Nico against Tennessee on the road, Nico had probably 3 to 4 guys that was running wide ass open. And if he had been a little bit more accurate, they could have scored at least 14 to 21 other points. Um, I understand the Missouri game, but let's just keep it what it is. Missouri was down to their second, third quarterback. I understand he's not chopped liver, but at the same time, they could not throw the ball. They couldn't, and we knew that. So we played them as such. We brought pressure. We did a lot of things in that game that we knew they couldn't throw the ball on us effectively, right? He wasn't bad in that game like that, but at the same time, you down to your second, third quarterback. We don't fear you throwing the ball, and they played accordingly. If you make some mistakes against Nussmeier, this kid can kill you with his arm. Go back and watch the Ole Miss game. Um, Even though Ole Miss and Texas A&M, I did a breakdown of the Texas A&M game against this kid. Even though they completely stopped LSU's run, right? And he threw the ball over 50 times. I think he threw it 50 in one game and 51 the next, if I'm not mistaken. The kid threw for 400 against Texas A&M, and what I would call one of the better secondaries in this conference. Um, Garrett Nussmeier, if you let him get in a rhythm, this kid can make it dangerous for us, man, especially with our secondary. So what scares me, to answer your question, is Garrett Nussmeier getting in a rhythm and us not being able to completely shut them out of the run, making them one-dimensional, just like Ole Miss did, just like Texas A&M did. Even though they came away with an overtime win, right? Ole Miss had every opportunity to win that football game. I no, excuse me. Didn't LSU beat Ole Miss overtime? Then they beat Ole Miss in overtime. I think they won. Ole Miss had every opportunity to win that football game, man. So Nussmeier scares me. He's one of those quarterbacks. If you don't get pressure on him, if you drop 8 and rush 3 the way Texas A&M did and the way Ole Miss did, this kid can make some plays on you. So it's going to be interesting to see how we play him. It's going to be interesting. I think this kid is more talented than Carson Beck, throwing the football. So it's going to be interesting to see how our defense play this kid. But what scares me is him. He letting that kid get in the rhythm does scare me.
Well, and then we can take this a step further, Coach. I completely agree with you. He's more talented than Carson Beck. This isn't a shot at Carson Beck.
Facts.
I was
Facts.
higher on Carson Beck than a lot of people, but excuse my language. We're 7 minutes in. We're good. But damn if he hasn't shown that there are some real things that, like, he's got to
Facts.
work on. Arm
Especially
talent
of
is
late.
there,
Yeah.
but you don't think in the NFL they're going to show you something pre-snap and then post-snap it's going to be a totally different movie? You went in there to see the Titanic and they're showing you Top Gun.
Facts.
That that's all of the NFL. Bama killed him with that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely killed him with that. Carson Beck isn't a first-year starting quarterback. Nuss is.
That's a fact.
So when Nuss is making some of these mistakes, if I'm an LSU fan, I'm thinking, okay, all good, all good. Get it out your system. I think he'll be back next year. Coach, I'm going to take it a step further because I completely agree with you. Nuss, if he gets in rhythm with this LSU offense, with these wide receivers, and they may not have a traditional run game, but what they do have is a running back in Caden Durham that can be a threat in the passing game. I don't know how much they've utilized him in the passing game, but I'm familiar with his game. And I understand high school is different than college. I watched him at Duncanville. This kid is incredibly gifted. This kid ran like a 10-4 100-meter dash. I mean, he can fly. If you give him space, he's out. He's out the gate. But then the real catalyst for me, Coach, is LSU's offensive line is really good,
Yeah.
right? They got a guy who might be the first tackle off the board. He or Banks for Texas, probably going to be the first tackle off the board. Very gifted on the offensive line. For me, Alabama's defensive front has got to be everything they were in Mizzou and keep building upon it. And
Yeah.
I think that I do feel confident that that's going to happen. And I'm going to tell you why. Because one of the guys that I think is a big catalyst on this defensive line for Alabama is LT Overton. And over the last few weeks, you've seen LT Overton start converting close to getting home. If he does that, he's a first round pick.
Yeah.
Like what he's doing this year, I think he's top 10 in the nation in quarterback pressures. And this is in a year where he's already transitioned to a new position. He was for Alabama fans, if you think about it in terms of what A&M was doing, he would have been a wolf at Alabama. They then transitioned him to bandit. So he had to gain weight. He had to learn a new system. He had to learn new coaches. He had to learn all of that. And you're seeing the payoff right now. I mean, the young man is unbelievably talented, has been a menace at getting after the quarterback. Well, now he's converting. If we can get Nuss off of his spot, that's where I feel
Yeah.
comfortable. Q Rob is another one where I've been really impressed with Q Rob this season. And especially in a game like LSU, where I think that Alabama can take care a lot of the run threat with just doing what they do, right? With the linebackers they have, I do feel confident about that. But it's the passing. And for Q Rob and LT Overton to be able to get home, I think that's going to make all the difference in this game. But I'm going to tell you what else, Coach. They got some talented wide receivers.
Yes, they
They've
do.
got some dudes, Kyron Lacey out there, Aaron Anderson out there. They've got some really talented guys on the outside. And I'm really excited for the matchup of Damani Jackson versus Kyron Lacey. You don't think that NFL scouts everywhere aren't tuning into this game to watch Damani Jackson take on Kyron Lacey? I saw this stat the other day that Damani Jackson this whole season has allowed less than 100 yards the whole season, one touchdown only. And the only touchdown that he allowed was against Nicholas Harbor. Now, I'm not here to say, hey, take this one off the board. He allowed a touchdown. That's fine.
Yeah.
My point in picking out who it was to, he allowed a touchdown to a guy who's like 6'5" and runs a 10-1 100-meter dash.
Yeah.
If you're going to allow a touchdown to anybody, especially when it's a go route and they just throw it up, I can sleep easy at night knowing it's probably the most athletic dude in college football.
And it was a tiptoe touchdown, if I remember. He caught it like on the sideline, barely, barely. It's one of those tiptoe things,
Absolutely.
whatever.
He was in good
Yeah.
position, too. I mean, that's the thing with Damani, man. He runs that 10-2, and it shows up on field. I know a lot of
Yeah.
people, you'll talk about these track times, and it's a good question to ask. The first thing you'll usually get asked is, does that show up in football speed? With Damani, it does.
Yeah.
That cat can fly. You
He's
remember
fast.
first game of the season? I was sitting there laughing whenever we were talking about it because there was a play where Damani jammed this dude. First off, jammed him to the sideline, took him out the play. The next
Yeah.
play though, the guy Damani went to jam. The guy did good. He kind of swatted the hand and got to the outside release. Damani literally was side scooting down the sideline with him. He was just scooting down the sideline, and this kid's in a full sprint, and Damani's just kind of toying with him. And I don't think it was like a cockiness thing. I just think it was oh, I don't have to be able to go out there and do all of this. So for Alabama, it's just going to be about getting to Nuss and making him uncomfortable. So, Coach, the thing I have for you is Nuss a bit like Carson Beck from what you've seen in terms of Alabama needing to switch things up pre and post snap to be able to confuse him because he has been turnover prone, or how are these turnovers occurring for Nuss?
I'll say this when I watch Garrett Nussmeier as opposed to Carson Beck. To me, it's like Carson Beck doesn't play off platform very well at all. With Nuss, I will say this, man. Nuss will take a lot of chances. I think you will have to mix it up with him. He'll take the chances. He'll throw you 2 picks. He'll throw them to you and won't care. But this kid will rebound. The one thing about Carson, um, Garrett would not miss the receivers like Carson did early on. Carson missed a lot of receivers early on. Garrett won't miss these guys. If these guys are open, Garrett will hit them. And if we don't get any pressure on him, Garrett will make us pay for it. This kid is the most live arm in our conference. I'm telling you, if you find he's better than Jackson Dart arm wise, he's better than Carson arm wise. To me, he's better than Jalen Milroe arm wise, right? This kid, go back and watch that Ole Miss game and watch some of those throws this kid made. It was unbelievable. This kid has a live arm, but the thing about it is he thinks he can beat every coverage. And yes, I feel like if they mix coverages up, I'll tell you something that Texas A&M did. Texas A&M brought pressure from the short side of the field. You know what I mean? Like when they was 3-by-1, I talked about it in my video that I noticed that they brought pressure on us from the short side of the field. They did a lot of simulated pressures from the front side of the field. He's a right-handed quarterback, if I'm not mistaken. The side he could see, they brought a lot of simulated pressures, and it caused LSU to make a lot of mistakes, having 2 people block one Texas A&M defender. I've seen a lot of times they done that, and they brought pressure from the backside, the short side of the field, and it worked. It worked. They caused a lot of problems for that LSU offense early on. Early on, LSU wasn't creating a lot of space. They wasn't giving Garrett a lot to work with. So Texas A&M done a hell of a job on defense, hell of a job. And actually, Texas A&M done a great job on defense and offense. They've done a great job on offense attacking LSU's defense. Um, with the counter read from the quarterback. So I definitely think you got to mix some looks up. Texas A&M did a lot of things with rushing 3, dropping 8. Even when they were in 2 safety high, it was a lot of split field coverage. And Garrett made a couple of mistakes, man. He made a couple of mistakes, and I really believe we have an opportunity for that. On the flip side, though, on the flip side of that, if you live by it, you can definitely die by it. So if we get caught, you know, trying to guard switch releases and trying to do things in the secondary based off what they do on offense, that can create some one-on-one matchups. That can create some one-on-one matchups with Bach, with Xavier Brown, with those receivers. And if these guys get a step on you, Garrett can put it on them. Garrett can put it right on their shoulder. So I think we'll be successful in stopping their run, even though we hadn't played the run very well over the course of the season. It seems we've got hitting a little rhythm of late, right? It'll be on full display. In Baton Rouge, this place will be louder than Tennessee. So the penalties, man, we can't go into this thing and have a gang
Yeah.
of penalties. Man, if you start getting behind the chains and having penalties and things of that nature, man, we're gonna have a long night, man. But to answer your question, I do think we got to mix it up with him. Dropping 8, rushing 3 the whole game. LSU will catch up with you. They'll catch up with you. I think against Texas A&M, this kid was 25 or 50. Um, it was either LSU or Ole Miss. He threw for like 405. He threw for 405 yards against these guys. So chop it up however you want it. You throw for 400 yards against that secondary, you definitely putting in some work. So we got to do a lot of different things on defense to create problems for Garrett, show him different things, and most importantly, get pressure on this kid. Don't just let him sit back there and have a full steak dinner.
So, who do you think is the most key player for Alabama in this matchup?
You mean on offense or defense, or just the whole team?
Either. Well, since we've been talking about Garrett and all that, let's start with the defense. Who's the player that, in your opinion, they have to have a good game? Like maybe
Q
not even a good game, maybe their best game.
Q Rob,
Okay.
Quindarius Robinson. I think Quindarius Robinson, any edge rusher, you don't have to get sacks, but we have to be able to put pressure on Garrett and not let him sit back there on 3 and 5 step drops, pat the ball, and have all day to throw it. Because this kid don't need all day. This kid doesn't need all day to throw it. We have got to be able to give our secondary some help. We got to be able to give our secondary some help, man. We cannot allow this kid to have a free reign against our secondary. That is, I cannot explain to you how important this is with this team. You see the rhythm that Carson Beck got into the second half of the Georgia game. This kid is one of those rhythm guys. They'll come out and they'll throw it all over the yard. He throws it in bunches. They don't mind him throwing it 50 times a game. Clearly, they don't mind that. So we really need our pass rushers to do their job this game in abundance, not just Q Rob, anybody who's an edge rusher. We need you to really, really, really get in the backfield, get some penetration. We have got to put some type of pressure on this quarterback, man, more than any other quarterback we've played. Then I'm telling you that. If quarterbacks get into rhythm with volume throws, especially quarterbacks like Nuts, a quarterback that you know is going to take chances downfield. Um, he's a confident guy. They don't really get on him about throwing interceptions. I think LSU is willing to live with a couple of interceptions from this kid. We'll take the 2 interceptions as long as you can give us 3 touchdowns. Um, so it's going to be hectic, man. It's going to be hectic. But I do think the most important player is Q Rob. Q Rob has really turned it up here of late. And I think this is a game where Quindarius Robinson, his best abilities, will be called upon Saturday night.
Agreed. I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you because, and he's gotten better playing the run too. Like I've seen a lot of just really impressive growth. And the reason why I say it's impressive is we've always known he has the ability to rush the passer, but the ability that he has shown within a few short months to understand the run game at a much higher. I mean, you think back to A Day, coach. What was the first play of A Day? He bit inside. They ran right outside of him. What was it, like a 40-yard run, something like that? He's not
Yes,
making
it
those
was.
mistakes anymore. I mean, he has been on it. I've been
Facts.
thinking he needed more playing time, but that's a blessing and a curse. You got so many guys at that wolf position that are really doing good work.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what he's able to do. I'm going to go a different answer. As much as I think you're right with everything you just said, I'm going to go a different answer. I'm going to go LT.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm going LT is because in my mind, if everything you said comes to fruition, I think that we are at a really good position. But if we can combine the Bandit and Wolf being able to consistently win matchups, Nuss is going to be in trouble if both of those guys can win. And that's going to be tough because this offensive line for LSU, I mean, that left tackle, Campbell, he's going to be a first round pick. He might be the first tackle off the board. I mean, this guy's about to make some money, ladies and gentlemen. He's good. He's very,
Yeah.
very good. But if you're LT Overton, and selfishly, I've said this before, selfishly, I don't want LT to go to the NFL draft. I don't.
Yeah.
Because I have been so impressed with how he's continued to build. In my mind, I'm like, okay, you're finally settled and you're flashing. You give one more year, you might be a top 15 pick. Like, you might be a top 10 pick. But I also understand if the NFL says, hey, man, we got a first round grade for you right now, I think everybody would tell him, hey, this is life changing money. Go take care of your
Right.
family. Go take care of you. Go be great, obviously. Selfishly, I want him to come back because I really think he has top 10 ability. But if you're LT Overton, I don't
Yeah.
know that there's been a more important game. And I hate to be like this because I don't want to have this like I versus team mentality. That's not where I'm going with this, but I am pointing out the obvious. I don't know that you've had a bigger game against a bigger name. You will have matchups one-on-one against Will Campbell.
Facts.
You want to prove that NFL, like that's a few months away, you go beat Will Campbell. You go out there and do to him what you've done to so many others. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, it'll be great for Alabama fans on Saturday, but it'll send him to the NFL. I promise you that. If he goes out there and just does what he does against Will Campbell, he's going to the NFL.
Yeah.
That's going to be some of the best film out there. And dare I say another one, Coach Sean, this is one that I feel a bit more confident will come back, is Damani Jackson. But if he goes out there and he's on Kyron Lacey like stink on poop, right? He's on him all day long and he's in good phase. He's batting balls down. If he has a day, he's gone to the NFL too.
Facts.
And that's a great thing if you're Alabama fans. Like, obviously, we all want to be selfish. We want to see these guys continue growing, especially in that crimson uniform. I'll raise my hand. I'm at the forefront of that. I'd love Damani Jackson to come back for another year. I'd love LT Overton to come back for another year. See what they continue to do for this team, for Bama, for themselves. But I'm also unbelievably excited that now one of the pitches Alabama can deliver is they can look to any kid in the transfer portal and say, hey,
Yeah.
you see what Damani Jackson did? You see what LT Overton did? They were always talented players, but they maximized their ability here.
It's a fact.
So I think it's one of those transfers. Coach, I'm going to go LT Overton to me is Alabama's most important player on the defensive side. And I also think
Right.
that the pitch this affords Alabama in the offseason, in this transfer portal era, and even for guys on this team. It's like, hey, if your number is called and you step up, we're going to develop you.
Hmm?
We are going to get you right. Shout out to Mo, man, and C. Christian Robinson and Freddie Roach. I don't know who exactly is in charge of Bandit, whether that's a Freddie Roach thing or whether that's a Christian Robinson thing.
Mm.
I don't know, but
Yeah.
whoever it is, good on you because LT, we always knew he had the ability. He's playing real high quality football, and shout out to Mo. I mean, guys, you have freshmen everywhere in this secondary. They're
Yes.
playing pretty well for freshmen. Let's keep it a buck here. And then you have Damani, and you see how he's played. Mo Linguist has killed it this year, man.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely killed it. So that's probably my player on defense. I wanted to get to this question right here because Darius has a good question. He asked, "Hey, do you guys think it would be fair for a 10-2 Bama, LSU, or A&M to make the SEC and lose? Should they still be in the playoff? If they have 3 losses, my answer is no." Darius, my answer is no, unless there's a catastrophic breakdown
With everybody
everywhere
else.
else in the
Yeah.
nation. I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah. Facts. You get 3 losses, man. No. No. What's up, Janet? How you doing, Janet? Much love to Janet. Much
Granted,
love to Quay. Everybody, man. That's a good question, Darius. But nah, man, you got 3 losses in your conference. Unless it's like just like Ty said, unless
especially
it's
conference.
yeah, man, you can't have 3 losses, bro. And the thing about it is, Darius, if it's mass hysteria everywhere else, Ohio State end up losing another one and another, maybe then. But think about it this way in this light, Darius. If you have 3 losses in your conference, think about how many teams in your conference would be in front of you, right? It's a potential. Like I'm the biggest Georgia fan, Alabama fan there is right now because I'm of the mindset every time Georgia wins, Alabama wins because
100%.
that is our
100%.
best win. It's the best win in the country. Every time Georgia puts belt to ass, it makes Alabama look even better. Every time Vanderbilt plays somebody close or beat somebody, it helps our case in the end, right? That's why we were number 11. It helps our case. People was pulling for Georgia to lose, but not me. I'm pulling for them to win out because and if we win out, that's just gonna help Alabama, right? Now the team I am pulling for to lose for more than one reason is Tennessee. They beat us head to head, but we need for them to take a couple of belt to asses elsewhere, because we don't want to be in a head to head tiebreaker with them when they beat us, right? We control our own destiny with LSU. We got to take care of business. So, long as Georgia keeps winning, we'll be fine. I'm a little different. At this point with 2 losses, I don't give a damn. I love the SEC championship, but I ain't studying that. I want the college football playoff, right? If everything holds to form, if everybody keep winning out, that Texas A&M game will probably decide who go to the SEC championship game against Georgia. If
Facts.
everything that'll probably decide it. So
Facts.
I'm not even on the SEC championship game. I just want to be in the top 12 so we can get to that dance, right? Georgia and Texas A&M, Texas winner, will probably go to the SEC championship because of how many losses we have so far in conference. Even if everything holds to form, they'll still be in front of us, right? We just want to make the dance. We make the dance, we'll have opportunity to win the big trophy. And that's just what it is for me.
100%. And I'll tell you who else, if you're an Alabama fan, you got to root for. And to be 100% fair, they've already done the heavy lifting for you, is Vandy.
Facts.
That Vandy
Facts.
loss, I'm not sitting here saying that that's a good loss.
Yeah.
Understand this before anybody tries to say, oh, did you hear the Bama streamer saying Vandy's a good loss? That's
Yeah.
not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. It's not a good loss. You shouldn't lose to Vandy. Point blank, period.
Yeah.
Okay? Now that that's out the way, is it as bad of a loss as we thought at the time we lost to them? No. They almost got Texas.
Yes.
Like, they came. This is the crazy thing. That Vandy offense is not built to come back on teams. It's built to be able to get a lead and sustain a lead. It's not built to come. They almost came back on Texas.
It's a fact.
They ran out of time. This is a solid Vandy team. This is not your mom and pop's Vandy team. This is a good Vandy team. Clark Lee deserves a lot of credit. The more Vandy wins, the better that is for Alabama, because this Vandy loss, at the time it was taken, I was like, hey, this is probably the second worst loss in the country, right? After Notre Dame Notre Dame lost to NIU. I was like, that's the worst loss. Bama to Vandy is probably the second worst loss in the country. I
Yeah.
don't think you could claim that anymore. I don't. I mean, this is a Vandy team that held Auburn to what, under 10 points at home? This is a Vandy team that played Texas real tough. What was that, a 2 or 3 point game? And Vandy had just gotten the ball and was trying to drive downfield, lost time the clock. Or maybe it was that they had scored and then Texas got the ball and time ran out. Whatever it was, This is a solid Vandy team, and like you said, Tennessee. I think that the reason why, Coach, I agree with your argument. I think if you're an Alabama fan, you're good with Tennessee losing, but you don't want Vandy to lose, is
Thanks.
because the Bama Tennessee game is a rivalry. So those games are always, whether I agree with it, whether you agree with it, or whether Chris Griffin down there agrees with it. Those rivalry games like OU Texas, Bama Auburn, Bama Tennessee, the big game, right? They always are squirrely. So if you're at the end of your season and let's say Bama only had one loss, it'd be very easy to be like, Tennessee, bitter rival on the road. Squirrely things happen. And it's like, okay, yeah, you should have won that game, but cool, 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 cool. Weird things happen in those games. You need Vandy to keep doing good. And I've been very impressed. Listen, I have seen some funny memes, Coach. I don't know if you've seen them about, especially during the election. And it's like, who won the state of Alabama? And there's a picture of Diego Pavia.
He did. I mean,
He did.
if it's the
Hey, good
if
on
it's
him.
if it's the truth, how can you be upset? You know,
I love it.
it's
I love it.
if it's the truth, brother, you can't get upset. You know, it
Now,
is what it is.
Darius asked this right here, but should they be punished for making a conference championship? Listen, if you are able to have 3 losses and you win a conference championship, you're in already. Whether I like it, whether Coach Sean likes it, that's just the nature of it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I'm not the biggest fan of it, Darius. I'll be 100% honest, but it is the rules. That's what it is. So I'm not going to sit here and oppose it.
I think
That's just is what it is.
I think the flip side of that is if you win that, Darius, you get a bye. You get a some may look at a bye as a good thing, some may look at a bye as a bad thing, but you get that week of rest to kind of recover and before you go into this crazy playoff. And I was reading Lance Hunter. Lance says might need Tennessee to beat Georgia. Why? I don't want Tennessee to beat Georgia. I want Georgia to win out the rest of their games. That's me because every time Georgia wins, Bama wins, right? If Tennessee beat Georgia and we didn't, and then they beat us, hell, that'd make Tennessee. That means Tennessee and Georgia would be, well, maybe not Georgia, because if we win, Georgia be behind us because we win the tiebreaker. True that. But I don't want that to happen. Tennessee beat us. I want the team that we beat, that's the number one, number two, whatever Georgia is team right now, to continue to win because that is the best win in college football right now. Is every time Georgia puts some belt to somebody's ass, it puts a feather in Alabama's cap. As long as we take care of our business, right? Now we go out there and get our asses whipped. It don't matter. It don't matter what Georgia do. It's over for us. But
Yeah,
every time that we win, every time that Georgia wins, that is a feather in Alabama's cap. So I'm pushing for
100%.
Georgia. Yeah, so I'm pushing for Georgia to win the rest of their games. That's a fact.
2 things that have been really good for Alabama this season. One, Georgia went in there and handled Texas. Let's be very honest.
That's a fact.
Georgia's not a first half team. They're terrible in the first half. They've
Yeah.
been terrible in the first half all season. I don't know what happened that Texas game, but it was the reverse of Georgia, where they were terrible in the second half, great in the first half, then came alive back in that back end of the game to be able to seal it. That really helped. And then to Crunch's point, Crunch, I agree. I don't think that I thought Vandy was the better team than Texas, but a little bit like the Bama game. Because listen, if you want to talk about penalties, I think I I want to see how many penalties Bama had in that Vandy game.
Yeah.
But I didn't think Texas was the better team. Uh, I saw 2 teams, and that's not to pour any salt on either team. I just saw 2 teams being like, "What the hell is happening right now?" I'm not even saying I saw 2 bad football teams. I saw 2 good football teams, but I was just like, "What is going on?" Let's check out this right here because I'm interested in the because I know Texas did have a lot of penalties. I was talking to Steven about that. You had 10 penalties. Welcome to our world.
That's a fact. It's a whole fact. Sark said Vandy was one of the most physical teams that they played all season, straight from your coach. So, you know,
Well, it also
it,
doesn't help that Quinn was turning the ball over,
yeah,
right?
giving the
I
game
mean,
away.
and the crazy thing is Vandy didn't complete a bunch of passes, 17 for 31. They didn't run the ball exceptionally well either.
And still was in the
Um,
game. That's crazy. That option is different, man. You know, it eats your time of possession up. It's very difficult to practice for that. It makes undisciplined. It makes disciplined football look very undisciplined. And
yeah,
Georgia Tech did it to
100%.
people for years. Yeah, it's a fact.
So part of the penalties, both in Alabama's game and Crunch, to Coach's point in the Vandy game, it's funny. I actually just did a tour of the what's going to be the SEAL Museum here in San Diego, and the tour was given to us by a gentleman who played for the Naval Academy, who went through SEAL training and all that. And one of the things he was telling us is just what you said. The the type of offense that the Navy the service academies run and then like a
Yeah,
Vandy runs, it'll make you look really undisciplined. It
that's a
made
whole fact.
Alabama look really undisciplined. It can get you in positions to where you're figuring things out. So Crunch, that's why I said when I watched that game, I didn't look at Texas and be like, "Oh, you were by far and about the superior team here."
Yeah,
But I've thought that about every game Vandy has played. That's not a downing on Texas. That's just the style of football Vandy puts people in, and these service academies. That's just what they do this year. Just do this year. Um, so it is what it is, right? I think that that's going to be really interesting to see going forward. Steven says, just wait, OU will be a spoiler for the Tide. They could be, but I also think that LT Overton is going to absolutely destroy your offensive line. They could be, but Bama's not Maine. You played a lot better, but we'll see this weekend. Who does OU have this weekend? Missouri. Yeah, so this will be a much better test. I think OU's improving, no doubt about it. But I also think that LT Overton, I think the only play, I mean, you've played a guy like Colin Simmons, very, very talented. LT Overton is a different beast. South Carolina's got the best pass rush, I think, in the nation. Kennard and Dylan Stewart. LT Overton's going to test that offensive line because even like I just 10 sacks against Ole Miss. That still left a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth. Now the defense y'all have, it's going to be very hard to run on y'all's defense. That defensive front's very good for OU. Very, very good for OU. And that's something Alabama has to do. No doubt about it. That is going to be a great game, Stephen. An absolutely great game. And I was very impressed. I understand it's Maine, but good football is good football. And y'all played a good offensive brand of football, which was very encouraging to see. Coach, let's talk about the Alabama offense versus the LSU defense. I'll keep mine brief. Bama has to establish a run. Point blank,
yeah.
period. Turn it
Well,
over to you with that.
that goes to coaches too, Ty. I mean, we got to call it to run it. You know.
Yeah, 100%. That's my thing is I understand everybody's like, it's an RPO. And fair. Like if you're calling a bunch of RPOs and Jalen's keeping it, he might be seeing something that he thinks that's the best option, and maybe defenses are playing him like that. That's completely fair. But at some point, if you're Sheridan, you just got to be like, okay, this isn't working. Just hand it off. Let's run
It's a whole
pistol. Like
fact.
Matt Caddell. Matt Caddell did a great breakdown on this. And he was like, where's pistol? We're in shotgun all the time. Do you notice what Bama was in a lot against Mizzou, coach? They came out in
Yeah,
pistol,
of
running the
course.
football.
Yeah,
I text Matt, and I was like, you called it. You did this whole rant. You called it. Mix it up. You got the running backs. I think Richard Young should be seen more as well, coach. And I know that's hard to say
say the same thing. Yeah,
because you're not giving the running backs enough carries anyway. But Richard Young attacks the gaps with a reckless abandon that you don't see too often.
And he
right?
he 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 understands how to get skinny in the hole, something that Justice and Jam doesn't do. He understands how to get. If you play running back, you understand what I mean by getting skinny. Justice and Jams will carry the pile. This kid will get skinny in the hole. That's something I hadn't seen neither one of our other backs do. You know.
And the thing with Justice and Jam is they're just more patient behind the line of scrimmage, right? And there's different styles. We've talked about this before. There's different styles. They're
Yeah.
more patient when they get the ball to see where everything's gonna open up. Whereas Richard Young, he's getting it, and if he sees a sliver that he's like, oh, I can attack there, he's shooting through there like a cannon. But just like we've talked about, and I'm going to continue to say this, I'm going to continue to give you this example. How did Deontay Wilder lose to Tyson Fury in the second fight? Yes, he came out there in that silly costume. It was a cool costume, let's be honest. It was a cool get up. But what did they say it weighed, coach? Like 50 pounds?
Yeah.
So that was silly. Cool,
Mask and
but
all that.
silly. Yeah,
Yeah.
silly. But I don't know if people remember, and they do if you watch this show, but Tyson Fury came into that fight like 15 or 20 pounds heavier than
Yeah.
he did their first fight. And everybody, all the boxing analysts were like, I don't know if this is the move. You're not going to be as quick. You're not going to be able to get in and out of the pocket like that. And if he catches you flat footed, he could put you out. But what Tyson Fury did was not necessarily to be maximizing quickness. He said, okay, I don't want to be at range with Wilder to let him really extend those punches. First off, Wilder hits you anywhere. He can put you out. That guy has the right hand that was blessed. But he said, I'm going to be in the pocket with you. I'm going to keep it in real nice and short so that way, anytime you go to hook or anything, I can slip right in on you and lean on you. I
Yeah.
can tie up with you in a clinch and then just lean on you. So now you're carrying my weight. Well, as the fight went on, you could see Wilder's legs go. The reason why I give you all this example every single time we talk about needing to run the football, it's the same principle in football. The run game, if we think back to Derrick Henry, teams would load the box to stop Alabama running the football.
Yeah.
But it wasn't about how successful you were in the first quarter or even the second quarter. It was about what you started to see in the third and fourth quarter. Fourth quarter, coach, you'll remember this. You had linebackers, you had defensive tackles straight up kind of have this attitude of, we don't want to touch him anymore. We're tired. We're banged up. We're tired of getting leaned on. Our legs are shaky. We don't want to hit him anymore. And so
Full
they would
fact.
start trying to arm tackle him.
Mhm.
You establish that, you lean on him, you're going to be good to go. And then it helps Jalen out because now if he goes to pull it and he's a running threat, the defense doesn't know what's coming because now Justice is involved, Jam's involved, Richard Young's involved. We're throwing the football around the yard. Well, now all of a sudden Jalen pulls it and the defense is like, shit, we got to worry about him too. But it's just about giving them something to think about, like a sleight of hand and a magic trick. The more things I can give you to think about, the harder it is for you to key in on the one thing I'm actually doing.
Yeah.
That's what Alabama did so well against Mizzou, and I'm hoping they take that into this game.
I agree. I agree 1,000%, man. For me, it's that, and I need Nick Sheridan. I talked about this on the video. Nick Sheridan has gotta get in that rhythm of calling run plays and just stay there just for a minute. Nick Sheridan, Kellen DeBoer, whoever it is calling plays, I at this point, I have my own synopsis on it. These guys are not very patient. Missouri was probably the first game I've seen since Wisconsin. Well, not West, but since times in the Wisconsin game that we actually stuck with the run back to back to back. If these guys rush three and drop eight, you're going to be forced to run the football. When I did my breakdown on it, I noticed that Texas A&M hurt them with a lot of quarterback counter read. They hurt them bad. Number 10, Marcel Reed, I think his name is,
Yep, Marcel Reed.
hurt them unbelievably bad with the quarterback counter read, man. This kid did an outstanding job against them, right? Same thing we run. The exact same thing, maybe a different blocking scheme here and there. Exact same thing, man. I also noticed that when A&M ran a lot of pre-snap motion, it bothered LSU. It bothered LSU. LSU was caught in a lot of two guys, one assignment, two guys going both with the same motion, two guys, same gap. Somebody had the wrong assignment, right? Um, a lot of these players for LSU were out of position on defense when they ran these offenses against LSU, creating very bad leverage for themselves. Um, you know, the A&M offense had an outstanding um, advantage over these guys. What's his name? Klein, I think his name is from
Colin
Kansas
Klein,
State.
yeah. And Marcel
Called
Reed's the
and
type of quarterback he needs.
Yes, man. Klein called an absolute outstanding game against LSU. I noticed that LSU, even when they were on defense going against them, tried the same thing, a lot of the rush three, drop eight. So it's going to be interesting to see what Jalen Miro does when they take the deep ball away. The few teams that have been allowed to take his deep ball away, we've sort of struggled on offense, man, because we got in pass happy mode. At some point, I think the term that Ty uses is foundational play calling. Man, at some point, I understand you are pass happy. I get it, man. I understand we like to throw the ball, but at some point, if these guys are going to rush three, drop eight, you got to be able to run the football. You got to, and it's not, I'm not asking you to average 8 yards a carry. You got to give the volume to the running backs. I want to see Richard Young play more because he understands how to get skinny in the hole, something that I hadn't really seen Justice Ajam do on a consistent basis. I know it's a short um, uh, uh, I guess, cup of tea that we're measuring as far as Richard goes. But that one play when these guys loaded the box and that guy got skinny in the hole, that's what you got to do when these guys are playing really, really, really tight gap like that. You got to have running backs to understand how to get skinny in the hole. You don't have to lower your shoulder every time and get 2 yards, where you can get skinny and maybe pop that thing for 40 or 50. Um, so I'd love to see Richard get some carries, man. The rhythm is going to be different because you want running backs to get in the rhythm of the flow of the football game. I expect LSU to play us by rushing three, dropping eight. Look for that. Look for these guys to play a lot of. They mix cover three in too. They mix cover three in. We call cover three middle of the field closed. That's what we call cover three because the middle of the field is closed. They want that safety taking away the middle of the field. They want both of your corners bailing. They want your linebackers taking away the hook and the flat. So it's going to be interesting to see how Jalen Milroe, and more interesting to see what Nick Sheridan calls. In those situations, middle of the field closed, you got to run the ball, man. You got to run the ball. You got to give these guys, because what LSU would do, it's the same thing if I played against Alabama. I would make them prove that they could run the football. I would be almost willing to give up less resources in the box just to make sure you guys don't throw the ball over our head.
I would.
There, yeah, of
I
course.
absolutely would.
So you have not proved that you are. I'm not even going to say effective. I'm just going to say you are not willing to give your running backs 20 carries. You hadn't proved that to me all season. On the road, on the road. That's the mistake we made at Tennessee. We got pass happy, three and out started happening. Next thing you know, defense is playing well, but at some point, their offense is going to hit a rhythm. At some point, momentum will change and the opposing offense will get in rhythm. The way you stifle that, run the damn football, man. If we got a punt running the football, not by going three and out, throwing three passes, right? So if we run the football against this defense, the three and out, the rush three, drop eight defense, these guys will run the middle of the field, close cover three that they will mix in. I do believe that we will have success. So it's going to be key to watch Nick Sheridan. Let's mark my words now. It's going to be key to see if these guys come out and stick with the run, even when it doesn't look like the running game's working. How patient will you be on the road with that crowd in the flow of the game?
That's the thing. He's got to just stick with it. Because
Yeah,
I love what you said whenever you were saying it's not effective. It's, are you willing to stick with it?
it's a fact.
That's the question. My question for Alabama's run game isn't, can it be good? I have no doubt that can happen. My question is, are you willing to stick with it to allow it to get to the point of being good?
That's a
And
fact.
I know, even I've said this before, Alabama hasn't been as good at run blocking as they have been in pass blocking. Well, coach, you know what you can do to help that? Call more run plays.
Yeah,
We know
rhythm
it's a
based.
capable, yeah, we know it's a capable offensive line.
Hmm.
I don't look at the offensive line and say, they can't run block. Tyler Booker, Parker Brailsford, Caden Proctor, Jaden Roberts, Elijah Pritchett, they can run block. I'm not worried about that. Let them get used to it, damn it. If I see an offensive line that is really good, and Bama's offensive line has been good this year. They've been good. Like when we compare Bama's offensive line last year to this year, there's no comparing. What Bama gave up 49 sacks last year.
Yeah,
I don't know how many sacks they've given up this year. I don't. And that's probably a good thing because when I'm watching the games, my first thought isn't, damn, if our offensive line could just hold up. That's not a thought I've had. Even against South Carolina, and South Carolina got pressure. But as I've said multiple times, I think that's the best edge rush duo in the nation. Kennard
facts.
and Dylan Stewart. Those guys are freaky like a frog with a mustache. Those guys are good. Real good. I know this offensive line is talented. So just let them go out there and trample people. I don't care if it takes a quarter. Let's get into it. Now, I think that where Alabama coach, and this is something I'm interested in hearing your take on, I think one of the reasons Sheridan has been impatient, for lack of I think that's the word to use, right, is impatient
Yeah,
with the run game, is because Bama's defense hasn't been all that consistent until here recently. And now I'm wondering, will the consistency of Bama's defense, what they've shown, allow them to utilize the run game more? I got to figure out why these lights in here just turned off. So I'm going to pass it over to you and I'll be right back.
got you. I agree. I agree. But for me, when I say he's impatient, for me it's more down and distance wise. Like, why are we in five wide in the red zone, 3rd and 5? Like, we're in the middle of the field and it's 3rd and 2, and everybody knows in empty, we're either gonna take a shot or Jalen's gonna keep it on the quarterback keeper. Like, you're not fooling anybody, right? Like, going play action on 3rd down and long, like you're actually going to hand it off. Like, nobody falls for that. To me, down and distance play calling has been utterly ridiculous, terrible. It just has. Um, for me though, it's we can have some success with these guys if they just play foundational play calling, man. Remember, Texas A&M, these guys had so many opportunities to score more points against these guys. It's just the quarterback they had in the game at first. I think his name is Wiegman, Connor Wiegman, I think his name is.
Yeah,
This guy
Weigman.
missed Weigman. He missed slants. What's up, AY? My brother AY, my brother ED. Shout out to both you guys, man. What Weigman missed hella slants. He missed switch releases. They had switch releases open all day long, and the dude was throwing the ball behind him. Just played terrible. Um, remember, A&M played a lot of cover one against these guys with robbers, and they had some great success against LSU. Great success against LSU, man. And I think Alabama need to take a page from their book on how to defend LSU, because these guys will try to run the football. I think they're of the mindset that they have to be able to run the football, something they hadn't done all season long consistently against Alabama on the road, a team on the road coming to your house. You like to not have to throw the ball 50 times, but I think LSU's comfortable with that. I've seen that from them 2, 3 times this year, if not more. I think they're comfortable throwing the ball all over the field like that, man. But I do applaud Texas A&M, and I do applaud Mike Elko, because these guys. What's up, Brinsky? Shout out to the Broski Brinsky for sure. Broski Link. What's up with y'all boys, man? Um, Brinsky, Link. I think we can have some success against these guys, man. I watch A&M play cover one with these guys, double robber. You know what I mean? Making sure even when they dropped 3 and rushed 8, they mixed different looks in against LSU to confuse Nussmeier, because they want to throw that thing deep. They want to throw it deep, man. That's where they're comfortable at. They got some great receivers, and I think we got to be ready for that, man. Defensively, I really believe, guys, we can take advantage of LSU. These guys have not been good. They mix in a lot of cover three. And how do you beat cover three? What's cover three beaters? What's some things that beat cover three? Quiz. Can anybody in the chat tell me some things that beat cover three? When they're playing cover three, middle of the field close, as we call it, what's some things that beat cover three? Right? Seams, flats, hitches, floods, outs, things like that. When you got both your cornerbacks bailing, there's several different things. Exactly, AY. Facts. All facts, man. If they're playing middle of the field close, which I expect them to do against Jalen Milrow, you got to have foundational play calling. That's all, man. Like, this is not chess, man. It really isn't, man, especially on the road. You can't get too cute on the road. I think at times we got too cute against Tennessee. I think we got too passy, as I call it. At some point in time, man, you just got to settle down and slow the game down and be physical on the road, right? Take the crowd out of it, man. You got to settle down and hit the other team in the mouth at some point in time. You don't have to be too cute. We understand our back against the wall on the road, and if we think Tennessee was loud, which it was, this crowd will be the loudest crowd that they play in front of on the road. It'll be the most rowdy crowd they play in front of on the road. LSU is known to do a lot of ridiculous things on defense. Some of the things they do, I said on my video, I challenge everybody. If you in the chat right now, I challenge you to go back to the LSU Texas A&M game last week. Stay in the first quarter. I challenge everybody to look. I think it was 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in the first quarter. Tell me what defense that is that LSU's in. It was 3rd and 8 if you know you're on the right down. It was 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in the first quarter of that game. Somebody tell me what the hell defense that was LSU was in. They had everybody lined up like they were about to do the long jump together. I don't know what that was. So they'll do some ridiculous things. And you know what Texas A&M done the entire game? Guess what Texas A&M done? They didn't get too cute. They ran right at LSU. They didn't. They hit them on the edges every once in a while with some quarterback counter reads, but for about 80% of their offensive runs were in between the tackle, between the guards and tackles, as we call it, in the box. They ran right at LSU. Didn't try to fool them, right? They lined up and ran right at them, bro, and had major success. Major success. So I think Alabama has to do that, man. Sheridan has got to not try to be too cute and play foundational based football on the road. Take the crowd out of it and take your shots when they present them.
Yeah, I got kicked out of the conference room, so I'm back in the lobby.
Gotcha, brother.
What are you gonna
Gotcha.
do? What are you gonna do?
Facts. They let us have it for a
So
little while. So you're right.
yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, I'm. I have no idea where I'm at. I'm in San Diego, Lance. I'm out here for Fleet Week for the Navy. We're going to the SDSU game versus New Mexico State this evening.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, we're gonna be in the locker room with SDSU before the game. We're gonna be on the field with SDSU. It's gonna be a good time. Gonna be a good time. But yeah, I'm out here in sunny San Diego doing this live stream, and I was in a conference room, but I just got kicked out. It is what it is. It is what it is. So I had to miss some of what was being said, but I did catch the last part. Link saying LSU can't run the ball. Yeah, they've struggled in that department, but they have a guy that I really like in terms of
Yeah.
Caden Durham. Really
I
like him.
said I said this earlier. Let's say it like this: LSU hadn't been able to run the ball. Like if we're being honest, Alabama's run defense will be one of the weaker defenses that they've played of late. Alabama's run defense, the last time I checked, it may have updated this past week. It was only 2 teams in our conference that were worse than us against the run, and that was Florida and Mississippi State. So let's true. It's true, Eric D. I agree with you. They were dead last in rushing offense when I checked it, right? But our run defense of late, outside of the Missouri game, has not been nothing to brag on, man. And that's just the truth in the details. So something's got to give. These guys will be at home. Everybody knows you're 7 to 10 points better at home. We just got to. Our coaches have got to put us in a advantageous situation. If we come out here and Jalen Milrow got 20 passes in the first half, I'm gonna blow a damn gasket, right? you know, at some point, man, you got to give these offensive linemen a chance to be physical, especially against this LSU defense. You got to give these guys a chance to allow our running backs to do what they were recruited for to do, and that's just the truth. You know, you got to be patient, run the football, and play good, solid, hardcore defense on the other side of the football, and not let Nussmeier get in the rhythm. That's my keys to victory.
Yeah, stopping Nuss is going to be really big, especially if he gets into rhythm with the wide receivers they have. They've got some dudes out there at
That's a fact.
wide receiver that you just don't really want to test a whole lot. I don't know where Bama ranks now in terms of SEC run defenses, but they come in at number 64 in the nation. But they're only allowing 3.67 yards per carry, and that would be good for about, let me see. If we're just going after yards per carry, they're not terrible.
When I looked
I
at it, we
hate
were
that.
giving up 144 on the ground, and this was last week. I think I looked at it. It was
Yeah,
144, and we were 12th. I think it was in the conference. You know, against the run, as far as defense against the run. That's what I wanted to see. Where did we rank against the run? It was utterly terrible at the time. I think that was before the Missouri game. It may have been up in the week before the Missouri game. So I'm not sure where now they rank, but
yeah. I don't. One thing I hate that the NCAA website does is like you can look at the rank, but if you were to like then want to look at okay, where do people rank in terms of yards per rush? It
yeah,
doesn't re-rank them. It keeps the same rank. So like
yeah,
for instance, the team that's fifth on the first page in yards per rush shows me that it's the 12th rank run defense. It's like let's rank based on the stipulations that I'm accounting for.
thanks.
But NCAA, if you're listening, that's only one problem I have with you. Fix that one, and maybe we can start fixing some of the others. But
Exactly.
yeah, Bama's run defense. It's just about not giving them opportunities. That's really it to me, is not giving these people opportunities. And against Mizzou, I think the easy thing people will say is, well, Mizzou, they didn't have Nasty Nate. Yeah, but they did have Marcus Carroll, and Marcus Carroll would start at 95% of colleges. Like, I hate to be that guy. He would. That guy is nasty. Like, that guy is good. Now, don't get me wrong, Nasty Nate is different. I think he's one of my favorite running backs in the nation. Good year for running backs too. A lot of talented guys out there, but it's going to be interesting. You cannot let them establish the run, because if you let them establish the run and Nuss is getting
Crazy.
off, that's going to be a long day. Real long day. Dwight saying that Bama is ranked fourth in takeaways. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Bama's been able to take the ball away. That's for sure. You just can't let them run the ball.
And if you let them run the ball, you won't get an opportunity to take nothing away. That's kind of my point. I feel you, Dwight. But if you don't stop them running the football, how did Ole Miss have some success against them guys? They shut their running game down. How did Texas A&M end up beating them? They stopped their running game. They made dust. They made LSU one dimensional as hell, right? And while they had takeaways, the dude still threw for 405 and 3 touchdowns, 3 tuds. So I'm with you. I'm with you. But if you don't stop the run, none of that matters. None of that matters. Trust me. Time of possession is going to be in their favor. Ground game is going to be in their favor. Point possession, you got to be able to stop. LSU can't run the ball, man. They're dead last. They were dead last in the SEC. So if you allow these guys to keep the football and allow these guys to come out of character, as I will say, and extend drives and can't get off the field on third down, you shooting yourself in the foot. They don't even give you a chance to take the ball away, if that's the case.
Yeah, and like I keep saying, they've struggled running the football, but I do like their running back. He's a freshman. He's going to be really
Yeah,
solid. And the thing
yeah,
is
man.
he's a track star. Here in well, I can't say here. I'm not in North Texas right now. I'm out in California. But when where I'm from, where I live, Caden Durham is a track star.
Yeah.
Like a 10-4 100-meter dash for Duncanville. I'll put it like this: if you've watched Key Russ highlights from last year, you see him dump it off to the running back, and that running back go do nasty things. That's Caden Durham. That's LSU's guy. OU wanted him real bad. A
Yeah.
lot of teams wanted him real bad, but the track at LSU, I think, was a selling point where they're like, oh, we understand where you're coming from. You love track. And I don't even know that it was that he was going to run track at LSU, but they were just like, we've got the ability to keep you in an environment that you're really comfortable with. So that's going to be fascinating. Speed asks, um,
Man,
do
I
you
hope not.
think penalties will continue to be an issue for us? I hope not. But this is something that I want people to understand because I see everyone saying, oh, well, this is a Kalen DeBoer issue, the penalties. It's not. Bama was 128th in penalties last year. They were like 129th the year before. This has been a problem that Bama has trended towards for quite some time. It's just once again rearing its ugly head. So I think that there's been some improvement, but at the same time, this has been Bama for the last few years.
Yeah.
They've just been super prone to penalties. It is what it is. What do you think, Coach?
I think so. I mean, penalties hadn't just reared its ugly head this year. We've sucked in that category, just like Todd said, for several years now. The pre-snap penalties, the ridiculous penalties that come out of nowhere. Now I will say we've had more. I guess I call them personal foul penalties this year than I can remember. But as far as the pre-snap penalties, they've always been here for the last at least 4 years. We've not done very well in that category. I don't know why that is, man. That unless we're in the locker room, you can never know why that is. Concentrate. I've always been taught that pre-snap penalties are a concentration thing. Everybody knows if you play defense, watch the ball. These small things that they teach you in little league. Everybody knows it should be no reason for you to jump off sides. You playing in the front seven, watch the football. Everybody knows if you're on the offensive line, you forget the snap count, watch the football. I mean, a lot of those things are concentration things. Who knows why they happen? Um, Only thing I can tell you is if you thought Tennessee was a bad environment or a hostile environment, which it was, this will be twice that. I've been to LSU. That's the loudest college stadium I've ever been in my entire life. Those fans, they really get after it. And if you let them hang around the game, it gets worse throughout the game. So these guys have got to be mentally locked in. The offensive coaches, I put the onus on them. I'm an offensive guy. I might be biased. I put the onus on them. Um, the OC got to get the ball. You got to get the call in. It can't be 17 seconds, 16, and then 15, and Jalen still looking to the sideline, still trying to listen. You got to get the damn call in. Get it in to Jalen so he can have some success. And if he has to change some protections, he'll have time to do that. You don't just have to hike the ball, because he don't have no choice because the time ran out. Everything has got to be a well-oiled machine, man. You got to get the play call in. It's got to be a foundational play call, and you got to make sure everybody understands their assignment because pre-snap penalties cannot happen, man. We can't allow teams to hang around by our measure of disobedience. That's what I call it. If LSU gonna beat us, let them beat us. But it can't be because we help them. You know what I mean? We got to help these guys. 3rd and 1, we get an offsides penalty. Now it's 3rd and 6. That's our fault. You're helping them. You're helping them. You just took food. You just took food off my table. You took points off the board. We're going to get that first down, 3rd and 1. You much rather be in a 3rd-and-1, 3rd-and-2 situation than a 3rd-and-7, 3rd-and-8, right? Your whole playbook changes on 3rd-and-8. So these guys just got to be locked in, man. LSU's going to throw everything but the kitchen sink at these guys. This game is for all the marbles. That crowd would be into it. I seen Brian Kelly's press conference where he was calling for the crowd to be loud, help them have some pre-snap penalties against us. He clearly watched the film on us. He knows we're very undisciplined at times. That's just the truth. So these guys got to clean their act up. We've had a bye week, so if they and everything will come out in the wash come Saturday. We'll know the truth will be in the details Saturday. No excuses.
Yeah, 100%. I want to take a one of these, and then we'll do like a quick 5 minutes on Oklahoma, Missouri, just because I ran out of time. I got to get back up and get stuff ready for this Bleacher Report stream because I after that I got to go. We're on the go pretty much all day until the San Diego State game. So that's going to be a good time. But Speed asked, are LSU's corners faster? Can our guys get adequate separation? I think our guys can get separation against anybody in the country.
Fact.
Like between Jeremy Bernard, between Law, between Ryan Williams, I think our guys can get separation on anybody in the country. I'm also pretty high on this wide receiver room. So it is what it is. Let's quickly talk about OU Mizzou because, Coach, this is a game that's not a rivalry game. But if you look at the fans on Twitter, they hate each other. Mizzou OU, they hate each other.
Yeah.
And so I've always kind of thought this could turn into a rivalry game, right? Because during this conference movement, there will be new games emerge as new age rivalries. This could be one of them. This is a huge opportunity for Oklahoma. Let me check the injury report because this is a game that if you're Oklahoma, you want to get. Brady Cook is questionable. Nate Noel is questionable. Mookie Cooper doubtful. So if you get a few of those guys playing for Missouri, you exponentially increase your chance of winning. But for OU, you just had your best offensive performance all year. I get it's against Maine. But even in the games where you were playing a can early in the season, your offense didn't look great. I'll be the first to say it.
Yeah.
I'll be the first to say it. Finally, it looked like it had some form of an identity. Does that carry over against Mizzou, Coach?
Man, I think so. I think they hit a, listen, when I watch Oklahoma at times, Jackson Arnold looked like he should have been starter. He should have never been taken out. At times the kid looked like he's comfortable and the play calling is good and they look like Oklahoma. At times the offensive line breaks down. They'll call a ridiculous type play. They'll call a quarterback sneak when they shouldn't have. Predictable, you know, and they lose 5 yards. So to me, it's all depending on which Oklahoma team shows up and which Missouri team shows up. I'd love to know which quarterback is going to start for Missouri in this game. Mid Cook going to play? Is he the starter? I don't know. If I had to pick a winner off the rip from what I seen last week, where's this game held at? Where are they playing at? I wonder, is it in Oklahoma? Is it in Norman or is it in Missouri? Columbus.
I'm checking right now.
Okay. Um, I think the home crowd in these games that's a toss up like this. Because when you look at the run game, Barnes and Noel, I think both of these guys had both around 500 or so yards. Um, so it's a toss up. I think the home team will feed off of their crowd and make less mistakes.
It's a
Um,
road game for OU.
it's a road game for OU. I think OU, if Jackson Arnold comes out and just play well and don't give the ball away, Missouri's defense is not just terrible like that. On third down, they were ranked earlier in the season. Um, but I do think this is an important game for Oklahoma. I think for Oklahoma to really, really, really set the tone going into the rest of the season, what's left, and next year. I think this is a game Oklahoma should win. They need to win this game. Um, but until I see man, I just don't know. If the quarterbacks who played against Alabama play against Oklahoma, Oklahoma should win this football game. I don't have no faith in those quarterbacks. I don't. They got talent all around those quarterbacks, but some of those quarterbacks were just terrible, man. I'll be real with you. They were terrible. I was never threatened of them throwing the football ever. Oklahoma should win that football game, but if Cook isn't Cook their normal starter, is Cook their normal starter? If he plays and comes out and plays, it may present some problems for Oklahoma. So I don't know, man. This game is very difficult. It's a lot of pros and cons for both teams. If Cook plays, Missouri will win. If Cook don't play, Oklahoma will win. I kind of just close my eyes and make a pick like that.
Love it. Love it. Well, Coach, we're going to sign off right here because I got to go take a shower, get ready, all by 10:45.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's 10:45. You're over there. It's 8:20 over here. So,
Shout out to the Dodgers. That's all I got to say.
hey, yeah, we're out here in California right now doing it big. Nicole,
Yes, sir.
happy to see you. Hope you had a good week. But Coach Sean, where can the
Nicole.
people find all your great content?
You guys can definitely tap in with me at JMHO Sports Talk. That's on YouTube and Twitter. I really appreciate everybody that's been hitting me up, man. A lot of people been hitting me up. I thank you guys more than you know. That's just my humble opinion. JMHO Sports Talk on Twitter and YouTube. As always, big shout out to my bro Ski Ty for having me on. Much love to all our partners who's on panel with us. And God bless all you guys out there, man. Post game Saturday night. Tap in with me. We're gonna go ham, win, lose, or draw, which we all know it's gonna be a win, and do our thing, man. Roll Tide to you all.
Absolutely, absolutely. Guys, you will see me on Bleacher Report not only here in a few minutes, you'll see me on Bleacher Report tomorrow. We'll be back, Coach Sean and I together, Monday, 5:30 Central Standard Time, getting back into the swing of things. Until then, though, as always, time for the third member of the panel to finally speak. The spinning wheel of doom. And it's